Let's not mistake simple for trivial. These are simple things to do, but these are not trivial, guys.
How many times have we had a frustrating customer experience where a support agent has asked you the same questions again, despite not knowing the context of what has happened, or you not knowing the preference of a customer and offering a product or service that they normally don't pick.
There's feedback at every level. There's a customer who's happy doing something in a particular flow, there's a customer who's making a compromise, and there's a customer who hates it. Understanding at each level is very, very important.
If you want to win as a team, you got to play as a team, right?
It's not just authenticity of data, but one source of truth that every team is looking at and saying, hey, that's the problem that we're after, and this is what we're going to do to solve it.
But it's very important for leadership to communicate the stories of customer wins, key digital transformations that have happened, or how the product or services have changed the lives and experiences of customer businesses.
Keeping the customer informed what we're doing with their feedback, and this is the roadmap and this is the influence they've had, plays a very important role in building these customer relationships. Hello everyone, welcome to the 4th episode of Yoka Sessions, where we talk about corporate culture and customer experience. I'm Yogesh.
And I'm Karthik. And before we talk about what's the topic for today, I want to talk about a quote by Steve Jobs of Apple. And he said, you got to start with customer experience and at the center and work your way back in terms of technology and not the other way around. And this was the fulcrum for building best-in-class customer experience and user experience for Apple consumers all over the globe. And that is going to be the topic for this episode, Yogesh.
Absolutely. Customer-centric cultures are a game changer. And it's not necessary that it has to be a product company or a high-tech SaaS company per se. You could be selling cakes in a bakery versus a high-tech SaaS company.
True.
Right? Customer centricity is key, and in all honesty, it's also a format of retention. With that, let's just dive in terms of what customer centricity really means.
So before we start the first segment, I want to talk about a particular story. We have salespeople in a company, then we have CSMs who own retention metrics. But let's talk about if in case the sales numbers are not met, or in case a customer churns, right? Is it the responsibility of these two teams alone? No, other cross-functional teams play a hand in it, whether it could be product, it could be engineering, it could be onboarding. There are so many other teams involved. So the core essential thing I'm trying to come at is it means putting the customer in the center of everything that you do in a business and work towards a common aim to improve the experience.
I agree. What you're trying to say, Karthik, is right from the CEO all the way till the frontline worker, everyone has a hand to play in customer experience. And building that in an organization is absolutely important, right? It doesn't matter what size of the organization you have, you should be focused on building customer centricity at every level. What I mean by that, Karthik, is it starts at the top. There should be a leadership commitment to customer centricity and building a culture and rallying behind that over and over again. And sometimes it may seem like you're just repeating yourself, like how I am today. It is that important to do this. And everyone has a role to play. And often there's a misnomer. Only if you're customer facing, you're responsible for customer experience. But that's actually not really the case.
That's right, Yogesh. Leaders have to walk the talk. And like you mentioned, customer facing teams have obviously a closer seat with the customers at the table. So they understand how their product or services are transforming their businesses. But it's very important for leadership to communicate the stories of customer wins, key digital transformations that have happened, or how the product or services have changed the lives and experiences of customer businesses. And when the entire organization and other cross-functional teams get to know about it, it definitely does play a positive impact.
Absolutely. Many a times I've seen teams unaware of their contribution. Just because they're not in the customer-facing side of things, they don't really feel like they're contributing to customer experience. Very important for leadership to get their hands dirty, to make that effort, to get all teams involved and showcase their contribution.
And to add to that, when something goes wrong in an account, or when there's an incident or a bug, teams work on something called as a root cause analysis document, where they try to understand what went wrong. But rather than looking at a defensive approach of trying to see what we can fix at our end, true customer-centric organizations will keep the customer at the center in the document and talk about the timelines and impact that has happened to the customer's business and think on those lines. It's a small paradigm shift, but it yields great result.
I agree. I'm just going to deviate a bit, Karthik, in this case. Managers and leaders have a responsibility here where teams don't get defensive about what happened. For a RCA or root cause analysis, we're looking at what went wrong and how do we avoid it tomorrow or the next time around for that matter. Instead of saying it's not mine, but I'm blaming somebody else for it, I think it's collective responsibility of leadership to show the value of an RCA in the first place and what we are going to learn from it. That's kind of rolling into what's important, right? To build this, you have to enable your employees. And you can have a strong feedback loop when you empower your team. To build a customer-centric culture, your team should be able to take those decisions, have the right knowledge to take those decisions, and have the tools in place to help them take it faster, right? And that's so important. Regular trainings in enabling your employees or your team, right, will build a customer-centric culture, ensure that they are also confident in handling escalations, handling conversations in and around best practices that are relevant to this use case, and deliver on time every time. And that's obviously the hope, but deliver on time every time.
So with empowering employees, one important thing is to get people onto a single platform where there's a single CRM or a source of truth. How many times have we had a frustrating customer experience where a support agent has asked you the same questions again, despite not knowing the context of what has happened? Or you not knowing the preference of a customer and offering a product or service that they normally don't pick, right? So customer behavior has to be understood by customer experience teams very closely, and a right tool stack or a platform that gives them a single view helps a lot to keep the customer at the center of what they do. So that is very important.
It's not just authenticity of data, but one source of truth that every team is looking at and saying, hey, that's the problem that we're after, and this is what we're going to do to solve it.
Yeah. And to add to that, you mentioned about empowering employees, and another way to do that is like customer-facing teams or teams that are involved in the customer journey or the purchase process. Like they have to be able to think on their feet and take decisions, and you need to be able to delegate the right kind of approvals. So, for example, a customer is waiting on your platform and is looking to purchase your product or service, and he is in the queue, all right, and he is looking for a range of discount. You want to empower your customer experience agents to be able to make those decisions, or maybe maximum go up a level up and get these approvals in place. Like these decisions can be made by customer experience teams faster, and that improves the experience altogether rather than waiting for a 3 or 4 day period and then being whether it's a positive or negative response. It's the waiting that irritates customers. So the right kind of delegation and approval matrix will definitely help in improving the customer-centric nature of a company. So we're talking about customer experience teams, and these teams basically experience customer interactions at different stages of the process. Sometimes during buying, sometimes during support, sometimes during after sales, or it could be an upsell or a cross-sell. What happens is, if you listen carefully, there's feedback at every stage, and that is vital. There's a feedback loop that needs to be built for a particular product or service at different stages. And that is extremely important. And by having those listening posts strategically placed, you get continuously better. It's basically Kaizen, right? Continuous improvement. So that is a very important aspect of customer centricity. Have the right listening posts.
Today, when we look at customer feedback, a lot of data is around why there's negative customer feedback. But like you said, there's feedback at every level. There's a customer who's happy doing something in a particular flow. There's a customer who's making a compromise. And there's a customer who hates it. Understanding at each level is very, very important. So basically categorizing your customers into promoters, passive, and detractors.
And that is the jargon for you folks out there. NPS, how many times have you heard NPS, right? And it's not National Pension Scheme, right? It's Net Promoter Score. And that is an excellent tool as well. So if you get NPS of your customers at different times of their journey, customer-centric organizations can do things like rewarding customer experience professionals who moved detractors to promoters or passives to promoters and expand accounts. Like that is a very, very good way of showing that you're promoting customer-centric culture. Like where somebody takes the extra mile to go and transform the customer experience from bad or worse to something much better. I think an organization that recognizes that and values that openly will encourage that kind of customer-centric behavior across teams.
It's not just that, Karthik. When we're setting expectations, or our customer experience professionals are setting expectations with customers, keeping the customer informed what we're doing with their feedback, and this is the roadmap and this is the influence they've had, plays a very important role in building these customer relationships.
I know about certain companies that communicate to their customers in form of newsletters, and they do mention about stories where they've transformed their product or introduced a particular feature that came from a customer's meeting or a customer's rant sometimes, right? And that shows how customer-centric the company is, right? And it encourages customers to open up because they think that this is a business that listens, right? That values their feedback. And that goes a long way.
Absolutely.
So Yogesh, we spoke about customers talking to us and us listening, right? That is a customer-centric organization would do. But communication is a two-way street.
Absolutely.
And it also matters how an organization communicates with customers, and that's where personalization and hyper-personalization is a very important factor for communicating with customers. What do you think about that?
I wouldn't just say it's important. I think it's absolutely necessary. Personalization is an expectation today, not from, let's say, a business to you. We're talking about simple food delivery apps today that we're expecting this. And it's not just food delivery apps, right? There are like 100 businesses that you're interacting with every day where this is happening. And that expectation is there on the other side as well. So when a customer is speaking to different stakeholders in the organization, us having authentic data where everyone's looking at the same thing, where the customer doesn't have to repeat themselves, is absolutely important.
Customers in the omni-channel world, basically they want to buy what they want, when they want, how they want, right? And this power of the consumer forces teams that want to be customer centric to leverage good CRM platforms. Like I mentioned earlier, the single view of customer, it helps not just having the experience in one dashboard, but more importantly, it helps you personalize your communications, identify segments, identify cohorts of customers, and maybe give the right kind of combo offers or bundles and sweeten up deals and make sure that the customer feels that they're not being communicated to by a bot, and there is a person behind that communication, and that personalization is what we're talking about, is a key element for building customer centricity.
Customer centricity and loyalty. Let me give you an example. I'm in Chennai for a fair bit now. Of course, I miss my Bangalore masala dosa. There's this one place in Chennai that I ordered so many times from. 12 months in, I get an email from the company saying that I've ordered 67 times in the past 12 months. A, I was shocked at the number of times I've ordered from the place. And two, I was like, you know what, let's make it a 68th. And I ordered immediately.
So folks, if customer centricity in this format can make Yogesh go through 68 dosas in a year, I think big businesses as you scale up can do a lot more with this.
Okay, let's just step back from the dosa conversations. Karthik, you just mentioned a little earlier about cross-team collaboration and the importance it has to customer experience.
Yeah.
On one side, we have a marketing team sharing insights on what the market's saying in terms of noise or feedback, if you call it that way, right? On the other side, we're talking about support teams, which is giving real-time feedback of existing customers and how they feel with the product, where they're getting stuck, what's good, what's bad, what they really need help with, so on and so forth, right? And then we're talking about the product team, talking about utilization. What's being used more? What's being used less? Why are they getting stuck here? Why are they getting stuck there? Or why do they love this feature versus that feature? All of them are data points. And us bringing all of this in one place is very important. What do you say about that?
I mean, I'll go a step further and I'll take an inference from the Olympic Games that are happening. If you guys have followed team sport like hockey, if you want to win as a team, you got to play as a team, right? And if everybody has got stakes in customer experience in the company, whether it's product, whether it's engineering, whether it's services, whether it's support, whatever the team is, you got to be bound by a single one ring to rule them all types, right? You need to have an OKR where teams take stake in churn, they take stake in expansion, they look at these facets and look at what aspect can they do in their sub-function to transform the customer experience.
We're in the realm of setting the right OKRs. For example, if you are from the product team and I am from the customer experience team, there'll be an overlap of OKRs, right?
Let's do both the scenarios. Like if you are a product guy and I'm a customer experience person, now I would tell you like, here are 5 reasons why I'm losing customers. It could be due to feature or pricing or whatever aspect it is. And you would look back and try to make those subtle changes in your roadmap. I know it's not easy. But,
At all.
Yeah. But subtle changes and see if that can give me the edge over retaining my customers. And it works two way. Now you would tell me like, hey, I have a couple of features coming down in the roadmap and there's a beta happening. I want you to get customers to sign up for it because there's a feedback loop we can build to improve the product.
Can we make the beta the alpha?
Yeah, why not? Right? So the thing is when teams like this collaborate and own each other's goals and what is that phrase? Tied at the belt, right? The customer becomes everybody's responsibility. And like I mentioned earlier, when you play together, you win. So we spoke about OKRs. And what do you call an empty OKR? An OKR that doesn't have metrics, right? So how do you co-own OKRs on customer experience without the right kind of metrics, right? So it's important whether you're looking at retention rates, whether you're looking at lifetime values, whether you're looking at NPS, define your target metric and operationalize that metric across teams, because that helps you not just work towards a common cause, but demonstrate results at scale. What do you think, Yogesh?
I'll go back to your sporting analogy. The team's there to win, and they're going to win with a particular play in mind, right? So having the plan as to what you're focusing on or what your play is super important. And what the key focus areas are in this quarter, next 2 quarters of this year perhaps, right? And this sets the right expectation within the company from a customer-centric point of view. Are we focusing on the right things right now? And how big is the problem that we're solving? All 3 will be answered in this section. But let's not mistake data for story. Data is data. It's just interpreting a particular behavioral aspect of it. But when you talk about shared goals and how it impacts the entire company, there's a story coming across. That is very important. Look at it from different vantage points, advantages, disadvantages, impact to roadmap, impact to customer experience. And this would play a vital role in the planning ahead.
Absolutely. And for our viewers out there, like you would never remember Benne Masala Dosa, but you will remember the story of how a brand got Yogesh to get the 68th dosa because of customer retention and the right kind of communication, right? So stories matter, and that's what resonates in people's minds.
Thank you, Karthik, for reminding me about the dosa again. But the key point that you're trying to make is what this brand did with me, which is proactive engagement, and how much impact it has in my behavior with that brand. If I were to look at it from the vantage point of a SaaS company, you're looking at they're reaching out to the customer with a particular feature that they're not using as well, or they're having tough time using it, right? And this data point takes you out of the transactional conversations and gets into value building, right? And this is something that we need to look at.
So proactive engagement is what I'm picking up from you. And that is important because you got to do that at multiple stages. The customer should not feel that you're talking more to them during a sales cycle, and then after that there is a lull in communication, right? Or there is a lot of response when you're looking for some sort of advocacy, but then when there's a support issue, the communication dies down. The key is consistency, right? There's a difference between working out and training.
Absolutely.
You have to have regular check-ins. Customer-centric teams are ones that are constantly not in the face of the customer. Like you should not be like the alarm clock that hits like 5 times before you smash it for snooze. But you need to be there when the customer needs you. For example, you're setting up a new feature or a module and you want that support. Don't wait for the customer to reach out. Give them proactive suggestions or knowledge articles that could support them and make them feel valued and heard. When there is an outage in your company in terms of product or service, like be on a hypercare loop. Like just talk to them a little more often, show more empathy. Have milestones, celebrate wins, like your customers' business wins should be celebrated.
While I understand this is really hard if one person is going to send out these messages to 100 or 1,000 customers, right? There are so many automations in place. Let's not mistake simple for trivial. These are simple things to do, but these are not trivial, guys. Very, very important to build relationships. And that is not a one-time effort. This is a continuous process. Looking at product behaviors, customer feedback, how they're behaving at a particular time of the year. Macros could have an impact to your business, and how this changes the dynamics of your customer relationships is very, very important.
And continuous improvement is not just about the processes. It's also about how you improve your products or services, right? And it's not just listening to your customers. It could mean in having internal sessions, brainstorming sessions with other teams, cross-functional teams that we spoke about earlier. It'll be good to use the communal brain and get multiple thoughts onto solving customer problems, because sometimes, as we mentioned in one of our earlier episodes, taking some time off and coming up with a fresher perspective definitely helps in solving a problem, right? And this is a very powerful way to do that.
And the vantage point from which each resource or each department is going to be looking at it is amazing. They'll be looking at it from industry best practices from their point of view. Adapting to those changes and making changes in your process continuously will deliver the right kind of results.
So I think it's important to remember that we need to have a flexible and dynamic culture that involves multiple teams involved, not just customer-facing teams, but all to come to the party and give the right kind of suggestions and improvements to get the customer experience to the next level.
And the thing that customer-centric organizations do really well is celebrated across teams. And they understand the impact it has to the outcome for the business and how much it can build the customer-centric culture as well. They would do it in the format of newsletters. There'll be social proof from customers in terms of how much it has helped them and how much impact it has had to new businesses as well, because this will have a huge influence on another brand coming to you and wanting to reach out to you because of how you've made another brand feel or help them grow.
Another thing I've noticed in customer-centric organizations is when they share customer stories, they make an effort to call out non-customer facing teams roles in securing deals. For example, that legal or billing person who helped you with a particular contractual clause that helped convince a customer for a multi-year agreement. It's a big deal, right? That's a big win. But when you call out these kind of contributions from other teams, it encourages everybody in the organization to kind of step up their game and ensure that they want to delight the customers to the next level. And I think that's a very core essential element.
To wrap up, Karthik, building a customer-centric culture is a long-term game. We spoke about a few things today, starting from leadership commitment, understanding your customer, empowering your teams, understanding a customer feedback loop.
We have personalized customer interactions, which are very important to improve customer experience. And we need the right kind of cross-functional collaboration between teams. And more importantly, have the right metrics that matter. And all these will help us to have the kind of perfect proactive customer engagement that is required to deliver the right kind of experiences. And of course, we have to continuously improve in all functions. And last but not the least, celebrate customer success whenever possible and make it a culture.
With that, guys, we come to the end of our 4th episode of Yoka Sessions. Thank you for taking the time, but don't forget to like, share, subscribe this video. It'll surely help us. Until next time, cheers.
Cheers.